everybody. So we have a mid-patch hotfix. That is already mid-patch hotfix for patch 13.24. That would make this 13.24b. I could be sleeping, but instead here I am doing a hotfix using my I was about to be sleeping voice, but instead Riot updated the actual hotfix notes to their patch notes. So here we are, and we are going over it. I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible since I want to go to sleep and you guys want to just know what I think of this patch and what's going on and what's new in League of Legends, and you want to get through it as quickly as possible. Later on, they have some arena changes. I'm going to do that after this. If you're not interested in arena, you don't need to stick around. It would be cool if you did, but I know many of you don't like arena. I actually find arena much more fun this time around, so we will see. Up first, we have Corki's base AD is going up, his base health is going up, but his AD growth and health growth are going down. That means at level 1, Corki will have way more damage. I shouldn't say way more. He'll have more damage and more health, but at level 18, he looks like at level 18 it'll about equal out. Obviously, Corki's not doing fantastically right now. His win rate is extremely low with an extremely low pick rate backing that up. No one wants to play Corki. No one does good with Corki. Corki is not being picked right now. Corki is not being played right now. As you all might suspect, early game buffs for champions tend to be quite good. Even though at level 18 this about equals out, at level 1 this is a significant increase in his power. I shouldn't say significant. This is a decent increase in his power. So suspect, if I had to guesstimate, maybe like a 0.5 to 1% win rate increase out of this. Maybe not enough to like make him like top tier, but certainly enough that you know, if you do pick Corki, you'll be doing a little bit better with him. Hwai has a whole list of buffs on him, and while at a glance it might look like Hwai at 36% win rate needs to be hotfix buffed. I do believe they down here they had already hotfix buffed him. When was that? Last week. They hotfix buffed him. I don't think Hwai is as bad as people think he is. For a champion who is a pretty unique playstyle, in a more complicated kit, like the skill floor is very high with this champion because he's got like 9 abilities or something like that. He's also a poke champion, a kite poke champion. You need to consider that your average player cannot play pike. Well, they can't play pike. They can't play poke kite champion. They're just not very good at it. Poke kite champions tend to be extraordinarily overpowered and yet have win rates that aren't really that ridiculous. See Orianna, see Syndra, right? Your average player just don't get them. They can be the most broken champions in the game and they're like 50-51% win rate, okay? So for a champion who has a high skill floor, has a play style that people often don't do good with, I think that why maybe we should have, given people a little bit more time to kind of adjust to him. I know people are not doing very good at him, but at any rate, what are they doing with him? His base movement speed is going up. His base health is going up. His base mana is going up. His WW shield, will now instantly shield him instead of after the cast happens. His shield value has gone up. His EW setup, delay, cast time, whatever you want to call it, that's going down. His EW fire delay is going down. His EW chase range is going up. That's how far it should travel to you, if I'm understanding that properly. Sometimes it's really obvious, sometimes it's not. Sometimes they word it weird. His EW linger duration is going from 1.3 to 3 to just 1.3. So, in case you don't know what all these means, I sure don't. But together, we don't know a lot between us. And basically, this means that Hwai will be stronger, a good bit stronger. And because of that, his win rate should go up. How far will it go up? Well, we'll see. Its win rate's going to go up no matter what as more and more people learn the champion. I highly suspect he's going to enter the Bryosis. That's the Briar phase, where his win rate just continues to go up patch after patch after patch after patch. Because, a month from now, he's 36% now. A month from now, he'll be 51, 52%. 2 months from now, he's 53, 54%, right? So they're going to have to keep nerfing him, probably give it a month, and then he'll probably get nerfed every week after that. I can't say that for sure, and maybe I'm going to be wrong. I'm not like staking my reputation on this guess. It's just a wild guess. I have nothing to go on it, okay? It's just one of those guesses where I'm like, I just feel like this, gut feeling. Could be right, could be wrong. I'm not trying to give like I'm not trying to like defend this opinion, let's put it that way. So I'm not like, again, I'm not like staking my reputation on it. This isn't something where I'm like looking at the facts and being like, no, actually, this should definitely be true. I'm just saying like, gut feeling, me to you, chat, me to you, us together, okay? I feel like give it a month and he'll start getting nerfed every patch. Okay. Naafiri, her E cooldown is going down. Now, Naafiri's E is an ability. Which ability is it? I'm not at all delaying for time as I Google the champion because I've never actually played her because I just didn't find her very appealing. I'm not Googling her at all. What I'm trying to do is explain to you that her E is the eviscerate. That's when she dashes forward and does damage. So that's her dash damage ability. So her dash, instead of an 11 to 9 second cooldown, is now 10 to 8. This will allow Naafiri to kite better. This will allow her to chase people down better. And so I think that that will, it's not going to be like, oh my god, like it's a 1 second less cooldown, right? So we're not looking at something that's going to like make the champion unbeatable. We're just looking at something that's going to help her out a little bit, give her a little bit of a buff. I saw on Reddit, the Naafiri mains. Hi, if you're from Naafiri mains. Often champion main subreddits get like recommended to me at random, and I saw you guys making fun of this and saying, oh, this will never do anything. Well, it will. Let's be fair. A buff is a buff is a buff, right? Like you can't say just because something's getting buffed, that doesn't mean because it's not getting buffed because you don't like it. A buff is a buff is a buff, right? Like a buff is a buff. It will increase her win rate. What is her win rate right now? I could look at it. I'm not going to, but I could, and I'm going to tell you it's going to be more than that number. The number it is now will be less than the number it is in the future, right? And I think that's really what Riot was looking at. In particular, though, this will help her early game to be able to kite a little bit more. I think in the late game, Naafiri can't really do the weird like mid-range drain tanky thing because damage just sort of gets too high, mobility gets too high. But even with that said, if mobility gets too high, a buff like this will help. Now 10 to 8 seconds cooldown, you have to remember most gap closers that are good are going to be around like the late game. They'll be around like the 6 second range, right? Somewhere around that. Early game, so it's always like 10 to 6 seconds, somewhere around there. It's like your average gap closer. I think Jax's Q is like 8 to 6 now, something like that. So definitely it's gonna be a bit longer than other champions, but you also need to remember Naafiri, because she can kind of play mid-range, it gives her a little bit to work with. I don't know how much this is gonna do. Probably the amount this will do will probably be less than the amount I just talked about it. So let's move on. Orianna. Okay, so Orianna is some of you remember. Actually, you guys don't remember. I'm looking it up to show you this right now. If you actually look at Orianna, yes, we can see back in season 10, they increased the movement speed modifier on her W. They're reverting that, so instead of 30 to 50% movement speed and slow, it'll be 20 to 40%, as it was for years, movement speed and slow. Then they're also slapping down her base HP by 15. So the problem here is Riot buffed Orianna's damage, then buffed her damage, and buffed her damage, and buffed her damage. A lot of people, most of you probably noticed this, right? Because like when we looked at it, we can see here's a buff on her shockwave, here's a buff again, oh wait, here's a mana cost reduction, here's more base damage, right? Like I think in all honesty, they should have just nerfed her ultimate. I think Orianna being able to kite and like keep, because the thing is, there's been so much more like mobility in recent league. You might have thought that I cared a lot and that the W movement speed buff, like, it really mattered, that like being able to slow more and buff more, this was like a huge buff. I'm gonna be honest, I kind of forgot this happened until I just looked at it. Like I looked at this buff and I was like, oh, isn't that what it used to be? So like, to be honest, I think it should have just nerfed on her ultimate damage and then left this so she could have kited better. I also think nerfing down her ult damage would hurt her in pro play a lot, because that's kind of what she's good for. Riot seems to just they just want like her ultimate to be high damage. They want her to be LCS big plays, right? And that's fine, but to be blunt, I think they don't always need, not everyone needs to kill you in one hit, right? Not everyone always needs to be the one shot wonder champion, right? So if it was up to me, I would have nerfed her ultimate down, but making her squishier and giving her less kite ability, yeah, I mean that works too. It doesn't work well, but yeah, sure, whatever. Sylas. Okay, Sylas has been broken for like a long time. I think a lot of people haven't really noticed it. Some people have. His win rate has kind of been absolutely nutty for like such a long time. And like, I mean, it's 52% at Emerald. Oh God, there's so many ads on this website now. I don't know, dude. I don't want to use a different website, but like, my God, like you can see, yeah. So at, so 51% at all ranks, 52% at Emerald. This website's literally just breaking. 52% at Masters, right? Like this dude's been broken at every rank for such a long period of time, right? Like for so long, this dude's been broken, and I don't really have anything else to say about it. Like the dude's been broken forever. Like, I mean, just like I noticed it the other day. I didn't really care that much, to be honest with you. I didn't really care that much. Because like I could deal with him. It wasn't really like that big a deal to me. Okay, I'm trying to look because this is not. They say Sylas W magic damage. Okay. Sorry, my brain was just not working there properly. I thought they said Q, and then I thought none of Sylas's Q, neither his. I was like looking at it. You could see me looking. I'm like, neither his explosion nor the initial damage is this damage. I'm so confused. Did they nerf the wrong thing? Well, they didn't nerf the wrong thing. They nerfed the right thing. I was thinking of the wrong thing. Okay, so his W magic damage went down. The AP ratio went down. The damage went down flat 5. Then the AP ratio went down 10%. This should make Sylas a lot less stat checky, and it should make him way less able to just W spam people to death. I think that's a pretty common problem. With Sylas, is that he just W spams you to death, especially once he gets some ability haste. W auto, E away, E back in, auto, W auto, blah 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 blah, right? Like he just kills everyone with W spam, right? Well, I mean, I should say he did kill. Highly unlikely he will anymore with these nerfs, but yeah, it's going from 90% to 80%, pretty big nerf right there. Damage down by 5, pretty not big nerf right there, but still a nerf. His W healing also from a 40% AP ratio back down to a 35%. It keeps going up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. The seesaw of Sylas's W healing. Like how many guys been watching me for years? I'm like, Sylas is healing up. You're like, yeah, down. You're like, aw, up, yeah, down, aw, right? Like it's just up, down, up, down, up, down with this champion. So it went from 40% to a 35%. Now do remember that Sylas's W heal does get doubled at 40% of his health. So in other words, this went from an 80% healing to a 70% healing. Okay, so 10% less AP ratio on the damage, 10% AP ratio less on the healing. That adds up rather quickly, especially if he's not like hitting all his abilities and he's just mostly relying on W auto and then back away. If he's just mostly doing that, then yeah, this nerf does hit him pretty significantly. Always sad to see Sylas's healing get nerfed. I kind of like Sylas's healing. I like healing at all. You might have noticed that about me in my life, right? I kind of just ruined my Rogue Trader run because I just made a infinite drain tank, and while funny, and it is definitely funny, while very funny, it's a bit overpowered, and I'm playing on the insane, like the highest difficulty right now, and I'm just like, woo, right? Because I'm like, yeah, unkillable, yeah, like how, at a certain point it's like, okay, but like I'm not actually like tactically outplaying the AI, I'm just like stat checking it to death, right? Like, and that AI isn't like the best ever, but it is fun to like blow away squads of enemies. But when I have to play on the highest difficulty and they're all giga tanky with 10 billion dodge, all because like I need a challenge, right? Like, it starts to be like, maybe I went too far, maybe I went too far. Okay. So, anyway, Sylas's W heal down. Okay. Syndra. Her Q damage is down. The flat damage didn't get hit, but the AP ratio on her Q did get hit. Personally, I think her ultimate was maybe doing a little bit too much damage these days. Maybe. So she went from a 70% AP ratio down to a 60%. Pretty big hit right there as well. Means in the early, mid, late game, every time of the day when you get hit by Syndra's Q, it's going to be doing less damage. That gives people a little bit more survivability. Will it stop Syndra from killing you with QWR? Probably not. Will it kill her? No. Will it stop her from just half healthing you with her ultimate? Also no. Yeah. Personally, I think that, and this is just my opinion, I personally think that Syndra's Q was probably fine. I think it was every other ability was a bit overtuned. Maybe not her stun. I definitely think her W and her ultimate were overtuned. Way too hard to dodge her W. Basically impossible. I mean, functionally impossible. She would basically have to mind control her to miss it, right? So with her W being effectively undodgeable, and with her ultimate just being literally undodgeable, way too many times she can just miss Q, W, ult, and kill a champion. And that might sound ridiculous, but I've seen it way too many times. I've seen it. Okay, so Warwick is getting a buff. I know this one. Basically, Warwick doesn't jungle as well as other champions, and so the problem is he tends to just get out scaled because he can't jungle well enough. He can't clear the jungle fast enough. So what they're doing is his Q monster percent heal cap, health cap. So the amount of damage he does to monsters right now it's 100 to 200. They're changing it to 150 to 210. So 50 more damage to monsters at rank 1, which is extremely impactful, and then 10 more damage at rank 5, which is not very impactful. The W cooldown is also going down from 120 to 60 to 100 to 40. So his W will be active more often. Yeah. Then his W bonus movement speed is going from 35 to 55 to 35 to 65. That's a lot of movement speed at max rank, because remember that goes up pretty high at low health targets. So Warwick will be able to clear the jungle a little bit more, which will help him. And then his W is getting buffed. Cool, I guess. Not really going to do that much, that W change, but it's cool. Yone is also getting nerfed. It will literally take me... It will take me... Oh boy. Okay, so his W base shield is 60 to 80. It's being changed to 40 to 90. Apparently Riot could not stomach just giving Yone a full nerf, so they had to buff it at rank 5. Remember that Yone does max W last, so for the vast majority of the game, his W shield will be 20 lower. I guess. This does, 40 lower, because if he hits a champion, it gets doubled. So 20 less on the base. That means it will be shielding for 40 less at level 1. That's pretty significant. But do remember that Yone's shield. That means it still shields for 80 base plus 1.3 AD. Now, even though Yone doesn't build that much AD, that means he still has 6 AD, right? So we're talking about a champion. He still is shielding 90 at rank 1 on an ability, which also does a decent chunk of burst. So is this going to balance Yone? I mean, it'll definitely make him more capable of losing trades. It will really affect him into champions who do short trades, right? It will definitely affect him into champions who he needs the Giga Shield, who would actually break it. So champions like Riven, he'll be doing weaker into. Definitely champions like Jax he'll be doing weaker into, because if he's shielding for 40 less on these champions who could actually do enough to break it, that's effectively reducing his health by 40, which is pretty significant. I do make fun of this nerf, but this is actually kind of a rather significant nerf to Yone. It definitely makes him less capable of being a dumbass, and that's really what Yone needed. He was way too capable of being a complete dumbass, just a complete dumbass. I don't really know a better way to put it. Yone as a champion has a problem where way too often he can just completely dumbass his way through life. and this helps it. With 40 less shield, he loses trades more, he loses all-ins more. I mean, way too often I would see Yone just do the most dumb shit, especially in the early game. Just eat in Aatrox Q3 and shield through it, or just stand in front of Renekton and eat, literally just shield and kind of back off, and Renekton would have to rage W through his shield, and then like Renekton would have to get through like a bone plating, and then Renekton would just get all in. It just awful dumb shit, like playing against a Jax and he just shields through the Counter-Strike burst. Like, dude, this champion was an absolute terror to life, and I'm really glad they gave him a pretty good nerf in the early game, because no champion who scales this well should also be basically impossible to all in, especially with how good his all in is and with how good his poke is. For a champion to, like, if you ever try to all in him, he just shields through it, then turns around and stacks up Lethal Temple in 2 split seconds, and then just, ease forward, runs you down, kills you from full, right? Like, it just, dude, I could just talk about Yone so much. I just hate this champion. I hate this champion so much. Okay, so that's it for the Summoner's Rift stuff. Now we're going to do some arena changes. They've done a couple of changes to Arena to try to balance it a bit better. Okay, so the Hex Gate cooldown is going from 8 to 12. This should help with extremely lame strategies where you basically just use the Hex Gates to completely avoid champion interaction entirely, either so you can permanently poke, or alternatively so you can stall out the game for the Ring of Fire. Not very fun, very lame, actually, very lame strategies. I don't think that letting champions use the Hex Gate under full pressure from other champions was like the greatest idea, personally. It's really, like, I know that's what they're intended for, but I think the cooldown should be like 20 seconds then. To be completely blunt, if you get caught out in a bad situation, you should probably die. Especially with how many champions can really be lame in Arena. I think that it's lame when champions can get out of a bad situation. And I know they have to do it. Like, I know that was the intention, to give champions a get out of jail free card. So like champions like Xerath, weren't just doomed in Arena. But it's really a lame mechanic. And much like I suspected back when I talked about it, it's not really used by the champions who need it so much as it's being used by the champions who don't need it, and now also have another way to get out of jail free, right? So like Riot talks about ring out comps. Well, what did ring out comps do? Oh, now they can use all their kiting to get away from you, and then if you get close, oops, Hex Gate. Okay. Grievous Wounds from the Ring of Fire is now 20% instead of 15%. That's per second, which should mean that it increases over time unless they broke it. The Ring of Fire now also reduces shielding in addition to healing. Between these two things, this should mean that going into the Ring of Fire should no longer allow you to do extraordinarily lame tactics. Yeah, that's it. End of. That's it. Hopefully this fixes some of the lamer tactics we've seen. It's not like a big deal. It doesn't affect you that much, but it never feels good, does it? When it's like, oh boy, it's Karma, Ring of Fire. She can't take damage from me. I did not play the right champion with 2,000 damage per second, so oops, right? Like, no one enjoys that. The Plague Bear, that's the curse rune that when you stand next to people, it ticks them, and then you get permanent HP off it. That went from ticking every 1 second to ticking every 1.5 seconds. Personally, I think most of the curse augments are extraordinarily overpowered. I played Camille with 1,000 damage per hit. I think people who use curses, I think I'm not at the high ranks right now because I've been playing Rogue Trader. You can go watch that on my Variety channel if you want, Shin Variety. There should be a link in the description. If not, just search Shin Variety. But yeah, I do think that what's the way to put this? I feel like people don't understand how easy it is to stack curses. How easy it is to farm opposing teams, especially if you've already run a match. If you ever have a match that you've already won and you can just farm extra curses off them, you can get your curses to completely ludicrous values. And I had a game It was not hard to do. I had 1,000 damage per hit on Camille. Literally just ran into enemies and, Q, auto Q, and they're just kind of dead. So, okay. Fixed a bug that caused bread and butter, jam, cheese to not grant ability haste to abilities whose cooldown scales with attack speed. That's not really a bug. That's more intended. If you give ability haste to an ability and it scales with attack speed, then it doesn't scale with ability haste. So it's not really a bug, more so like an adjustment. I wouldn't call it a bug because it's not a bug. This isn't a bug fix. You can buy as much ability haste as you want on Yone. It won't reduce your W cooldown, right? Like, to be able to get that, I can buy 2,000 ability haste on Kosante. It won't reduce my Q cooldown. So it's not a bug fix. It's not a bug fix at all. That's just how the ability works. Okay. Then yesterday, they had some arena adjustments to champions themselves. Gragas's E cooldown refund went from 40 to 25%. Then the damage on the ability went down by 40 at max rank. Jin's percent movement speed on critical strikes went from 80 to 60%. It's 40% in the regular game mode. Jin literally being faster than everything on the planet and not being hittable ever by any skill shot ever was probably bad. It's not as bad anymore, but it's still pretty silly. Let's call it that, okay? So it's like fun, but like it was a bit aggressive. Then his Q cooldown is getting its base damage and AD ratio reduced a little bit more. I don't think this is quite as low as is on live. I think on live it's a bit lower, but it's definitely not as much as it was, which was a lot. It was a lot in arena. Karthus added bonus maximum health. 0 to 100. R damage. Oh, okay. So Karthus now gets an additional 0 to 100 HP. So 0 to 200 HP, level 1 to 18. So he'll just have more HP as the game moves on. And then his ultimate is getting its damage pretty substantially increased. I'm not sure increasing his ultimate damage that much is a good idea. Giving him more health is an interesting way to try to balance him, I guess. But man, that's 350 to 750 with 100% AP. I feel like if Karthus does well in arena, like if his team gets good, if he gets some good AP augments, like how fun is it going to be if you kill Karthus and then he hits you for his ultimate for like 1.5 thousand and you're like, ow. Leona, Q cooldown from 5 seconds to 6 seconds. W cooldown from 14 to 10 to 14 to 12. Leona must have been doing really good. I saw her do good. I didn't know it was going to be that good. But, okay. I mean, if they need a nerf for that much, she must have been doing pretty good. I didn't really think so, but okay. Added bonus movement speed. This is Nico here. Added bonus movement speed. Wow, my brain. Added bonus maximum health. 0 to 200. So she gets 0 to 200 more health, level 1 to 18. Remember, you do start at level 5, so she's already going to have a little bit more health at level 3. Then her Q damage is going up by 90 to 30. 90. I'm special. It's going up by 10 to 30. So it's going up 10 damage at rank 1, 30 damage at rank 5. Pyke, Yorkut Gold, 60 to 350. So Pyke generates less gold for his team. Then R damage, if not executing, 80%. So Pyke teams will be able to access, like if a Pyke team gets, some kills, they won't be able to get that second and third item too quickly before other teams, whereas right now they can, which turns into a bit of an issue because Pyke teams can farm out a complete extra item and then they can win every single game. And if they win every single game, unlike other teams I talked about, if you literally win every single game, you will knock opposing teams out. Pyke's top 2 rate, from what I remember, was I think the highest in the game. His team was basically guaranteed top 2, which meant that Pyke teams would always climb. I don't think their top 1 rate, I think their top 1 wasn't like insane. Like it was obviously better because they would reach top 2 every game. But like their top 1 rate was like, it was good. But yeah, Pyke always getting top 2 was a bit, Zilean added bonus maximum health. So Zilean gets more health at level 1 to 18. So obviously Zilean gets more health. They did that 3 times here. If you like it once, you'll like it a second time, and then you'll like it a third time. And then after the third time, you'll realize that the movie sucks and you won't watch another one. Unless it's Lord of the Rings, then you'll watch all three. All the other movies, you'll probably stop after the second one, right? Unless it's Star Wars, then you'll only watch the third one. You know what I mean, though, right? Well, I mean, not the original Star Wars trilogy, but the prequel trilogy. Well, no, because if it's a no, you know what I mean. The prequel trilogy, you'll watch the third one. The original trilogy, you'll watch 1 and 2, and then the new trilogy, you'll maybe watch the first one, but not the second or the third. Where were we? Augment, steal your heart, stack, multiply from 4 to 5. I think stack your heart. I think steal your heart was pretty weak. I'm not really sure. It wasn't great. It was like Stackosaurus Rex, stack amplification 50 to 75%. I never actually got that one. I don't know what that is. Spin to win, spin haste, spin damage. Okay, so the problem with spin to win, it literally just only seems to help Katarina, and that's it. I think it affects Katarina. I fought a Katarina and she did one-shot me, and I was told that was why, but I did not personally double-check it. But other than that, a lot of abilities which look like spins do not get buffed by spin to win, so it's really weird. I don't think it's really that strong. They're obviously buffing it. Personally, I think they should clarify what is and is not a spin ability, and champions with no spin abilities should not be able to roll spin to win. Because that's dumb. That's a noob trap. You're trapping new players and just making them feel bad. Yeah. Dashing. Dash haste from 200 to 250. Cool, I guess. I mean, cool. Landry's Anguish. Maximum agony burn damage. So Landry's Anguish is getting a bit of a buff. Instead of 12% damage at max, it'll be 15%. Presumably, this is to help mages out with Giga Tanks. Giga Tanks kind of just stop taking damage from mages. So, yeah. Dark Blessing, cursed power to ability haste conversion, 12 to 14%. Cool, I guess. Orbital lasers getting more base damage. That makes sense. Orbital laser looked really devastating at first. Like you could play a tank with an orbital laser and then you could stun them in it and kill them and ha. But then like you actually used it and you're like, dang. They like walk out after like 1 second of it being on them. And then you're like, that was my prismatic. Center of the universe, damage is going down. That makes sense. Center of the universe just basically won every single game until the mid to late game, which was a bit of an issue. Like, I mean, I would get it on like Aatrox. I would get it on everybody. Just utterly obliterating every opponent. And then part of the problem was that like Eye Laser was just so much worse than Center of the Universe. Center of the Universe is so much easier to use and did more damage. It still does more damage, I think. Eye Laser is just bad. Fun, but bad. Then Sork Shoes going up from 18 to 20, which is, I don't know, I guess. I don't think mages are really doing bad. I think part of the problem, personal opinion, I think mages have always kind of been worse with your average player, because your average player just wants to run up and just do like like they just want to run up and like spam all their buttons on each other, right? And mages can't do that. They have to like play back and kite and stuff like that. So I think mages have always done worse. Yeah. Fixed a bug where spin to win did not grant extra damage to spin abilities after the champion had been slain. Wait, so they buffed spin to win and bug fixed it. To actually work. Bit of a dumb thing, that. Do you guys like why? Can I just ask why? Anyway, that's all the hotfix nerfs, buffs, changes. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being here. That's 13.24b. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Please subscribe to the old Patreon. Support Ishinchin and support videos like this. Support me staying up so you guys can get these. Well, I guess not on time. It's like a couple hours late, right? But, you know, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.